Man, I have no idea though. How much would I charge per hour? Or
Yeah, I have an interview around noon, and I don't know. It's $100 an hour is what they talked me down to, but I don't think that's enough, especially if I want to hold on to my crib in Miami.
I guess if you were living out of a closet in someone's house or something like that, and paying a few $100 a month for rent, but I
Mm.
really have no idea. Or you could be homeless while you're over there.
Or I could have a whole bunch of siblings, a grandmother, a grandkid, and we all live in a one bedroom apartment, splitting the rent, including the grandkid. But that's not gonna work because it's just me. Anyways, what's going on?
Not much. I'm failing hard on doing anything entrepreneurial and productive. So
You gotta get off that plateau.
I know I taking a sidetrack. My brother-in-law owns a game store, and he wants to. It's a video game store right now. He just bought it recently, and he's expanding into um, stuff that does sell in stores because video games are slowly dying off. So he's focusing more on like retro and pop culture goods and stuff like that and games. And he wants to build. I built a game table. I built a couple now, and so he wants me to build a game table for his store, and we might build it together. But um, it dawned on me if we could build these and build them, uh, you know, nice enough and at enough uh, uh, cheap enough. I don't want to say cheap, but cheap enough. We could actually sell them in addition to having one in his store. So use the one that he has in his store as kind of like a display model. Put a price tag on it, and then it's just always like if anyone comes in is like, "Oh, this game table sweet."
What's a
Yeah.
game table? Is it like a card table, like play poker? Like what's a game table?
So a game table's like usually what it is, it'll be a table with like a sunken center with like felt or some other material. Some people even mount TVs in them if they're doing like D&D and stuff like that. But um, my game table is, I mean, it's got a big wooden panel on the outside or like rail or whatever you would call it, and it's got cup holders in some places, and then uh, it's got the sunken center with felt, and then that felt I've got it so you can push it up and replace it if needs be. So that it's just an insert. But mostly it's just I think the main thing that's common to all of them is either a sunken or raised surface in the middle of the table, conducive to having a board game on it, and and then
Okay.
there's you go from there with features.
Oh, I've seen that at the park. The elderly people play dominoes. If we're talking about the same thing, and there's like divots in the table where they put their dominoes or their chips.
Yeah, I mean that's like a microcosm of what this is, but they get all over the place in terms of what they can look like. I'll post you a couple pictures here. Uh, Maybe that'll come through. Um,
Oh, that looks cool. Yeah, that's a little bit more advanced than the one in Calle Ocho.
yeah, and I don't know. There's a bunch of them. If you just search, game table on Google, you'll get a bunch of these ones. But they look like a dining room, more like a dining room table. And in fact, some of them are convertible to dining room tables, where basically the sunken area is a play area, but then you put a panel of wood over top, and then it's basically at that point in time it serves as a dining room table until game night. So um,
Who's the market? College kids,
no, it's usually well, I mean, college kids could be, but it's more people with
Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah, kind of millennial homeowners or older people that got into D&D a long time ago, or are just into board games. A lot of families are into board games, and having something like this is with cup holders and all that stuff is kind of nice. So I have one that I made for myself. There's some things that I wish I would have done differently, specifically around the legs, but um, it looks pretty nice. It's it's all just pine boards and stuff like that, which are fairly. It's a softwood, so it's fairly cheap, um, but it functions really well when you're playing a game. Everyone can see the board. Uh, the all of the pieces are sunken in this center, so you don't lose them off the edge of the table. All that kind of stuff. The felt holds cards and things pretty well. So
Mm. Okay.
yeah, I'll take a picture of the one I've got out there after, and I'll just post it on Twitter, or to put direct message you on Twitter with it. So assuming
Any, anything with the video game?
no, I had was it camping last weekend, and then that got over, and then took almost a couple days to just recover from that because just you're staying up late and having some drinks and not sleeping too well and all that stuff. So then about midweek, I got it in my head that my brother-in-law has been asking me to build this table for a while, and I just got it in my head again that, man, that would be fun. And I never thought about the angle of it's not just building him a table, but if I could build a table that is in a store where someone could come in and be like, oh man, I'd want a table like that. It's like, okay, well, we can build you one. So
I didn't know you were a carpenter.
I'm not by any means, but putting these things together isn't that complicated, assuming you've got the tools and a basic understanding of what you're doing. To make it, the ones that run like there's models that run like into the 10 grand range for these types of things that are top notch, and they've got really beautiful wood carving and very heavy legs and lots of compartments and shelving and like that stuff. I'm nowhere near doing able to do that, but for to build like a take like $100 and or maybe $150 of wood and materials and turn it into a $300 table, I think I could do that. So if I could get it down to where I've got a design too, where it's just straight cuts and pretty standard way to put it together, where I could pre-cut things and have it ready to go, or pre-make some, I could go that route and actually try to pump these things out fairly quick. But the problem with doing something like this, because I did this last year and I got all excited about it. Or no, was it 2 years ago now? I know, I did it a couple of years ago and I got all excited about it, and then winter comes and it's like, well, I have nowhere to work on it in the cold. I've got my back room in my pole barn, but it's not heated. It's insulated, but not heated, so it's too cold to work in the winter.
Cool.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's a vector that I might. He needs it anyways because he wants to get people in to play board games in his shop where they'll buy like snacks and stuff like that, and maybe he could get basic information about what people might want to buy in those kinds of settings and things. But putting a price tag on it and trying to sell it, that's like
Well,
I'd make a table.
he probably, if he hasn't already considered it, needs to create a Dungeons and Dragons meetup group and to set the location to his store as a prerequisite if he really wants to set that up.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of like stretch goal. There is another game shop in town. This is a fairly small town, especially compared to like Miami and stuff. So, you can't saturate the market too much, but there is another game store in town that has that kind of stuff. And the store that he has isn't really known for that. It's a video game store. It was basically it's a defunct franchise called Play and Trade. So they were like a GameStop competitor. They went out of business, but the store kept operating, under the name and everything like that. And so they're known for video games, but now he's branching out into board games and collectibles and comic books and stuff like that. So more of a general purpose hobby store type thing. So and curiosities or whatever. But um, so he'll set this up. He said he's had a couple people come in and they'll even just set up like a hangout and set up a chair and play some stuff on like card tables. So
Yeah.
this will be pretty good, I think. And it gives me another chance to work with wood, which is really fun if you've never done it. It's making something physical actually, and being able to be like, look at the end. It's part of the reason I started getting into the box thing was I wanted to do something outside of software. So I was just getting burned out on it.
Well, I got a project for you then. I'm trying to convince someone else to do it, but I don't know. I guess they have priorities. And I think I've brought this up to you. Maybe not, but it's actually related to what I'm doing. So I don't know how often you eat out, like go to Subway or even go to like a 2, 3 star restaurant. But have you, especially at like the Subway by me, have you noticed all the different tablets that a a restaurant has just all over the place, wires all over the place? They have like each tablet for each service, such as like DoorDash or Uber Eats and Postmates and all that other stuff. Have you observed any of that?
No, we don't really have much in the way of those delivery services and stuff here, but
Um,
um, so I haven't, but I could imagine it. So they
yeah.
actually have these devices in the store because it's so popular for delivery services like that, or what?
So, like example, the Subway down the street from me, these shop or these food services, they essentially provide a tablet for the restaurant for the restaurant to monitor and receive notifications when someone has ordered food through that app. And so now you're getting to the point where there's like nearly a half dozen different apps that a restaurant is using to receive online orders for deliveries. And it's all unorganized. So they literally have these tablets just sitting and dangling all over the place with wires all over the place instead of a uniform like panel interface. Kind of like if you go to the casino to watch a horse race or something, and the TVs are all organized within a frame, and you don't see any wires, and it's just an interface for you to view multiple activities. It's at the point now where there's so many different service providers for ordering food for delivering, where people like off the street pick it up and deliver it to someone else, that it's just very unorganized and it's hard for them to keep up because they're literally sitting these tablets on any available counter space. And it's just a mess. And so I was trying to convince one of my friends that works in audio video if he could build out a prototype to serve as a general interface. And the challenge is the form size of the tablet, right? But even if you could create some type of like flap or shutter to you know go in or go out depending on the dimensions of the tablet device, then I mean I think that's fine. But I think he's too busy. But it's definitely a need, right? And I was telling him like, yo, create the prototype, test it out on some various tablet type devices with different dimensions. And if it looks decent enough, then like I could really use that for when I start marching to hand out flyers for this app that I'm building. I could also sell them your solution. And you can even put your solution on like Amazon. And yeah, but he's dragging his feet on it because he has other things like a family and a actual business as an entrepreneur and a whole bunch of other things.
Well, it seems like it's a decent problem to solve if it's getting manageable for people. Have you talked to the people at Subway about it and asked what
I
they?
I did, and I said, no, why don't y'all have like a more professional layout? Because this stuff looks like something that I would do, right? But you guys are better than that. You guys are professionals, and they're like, we're not allowed to. Headquarters won't let us even put things on the wall. Like so, like this is why I don't like working full time at a corporation because they have these like outdated command and conquer like hierarchy. I can't even say the word hierarchy. I can't say the word type of organizations.
Hierarchical call. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Hierarchical
That's a hard word. Yeah.
organizations where like you have to ask permission to just do something that is just organized. And so anyway, yeah, I did ask them, but they're not allowed to make decisions for their own store because that would go against the standards of the franchise. So it has to come from up top, which means that you can potentially set up a meeting with actual like headquarters of these various franchises, and if you sell the franchise one, then you pretty much can have that distributed to all the stores in the region and then extend that out to other regions. Meaning instead of selling it to just one store for like, I don't know, $50 or $100, headquarters will potentially mandate that, all stores have it. So now you multiply that 50 or 100 by like 6 or 8 or 20. It's a business. I'm just not hands on. I'm pure like ones and zeros. I'm not tangible artifacts, carpentry or manufacturing.
Well, I mean, isn't there there's a technological solution on this too? There isn't there where you just use off the shelf tablets and you just make it such that the same you can switch between apps seamlessly um, on one single device,
I
so you
don't
don't
think
have to have a bajillion of them.
I don't think so. So my current understanding is push notifications. There's a blend of security and nuisance, right? And so like I haven't done much with push notifications in a while. The last time I did anything significant was with Windows Store apps, but you just can't have a push notification come in and um, immediately hit the consumer, right? There's some type of event that needs to take place, or a moment of time, like some type of periodic events that occur like every 15 minutes. 15 is just a number I threw out there, but during a certain duration of time, then you can have push notifications occur. Or if there's a major event like recognizing an internet connection or some type of like system event, then you can also receive a push notification. Um, and all this is so that you don't get spammed with notifications by some buggy application or some annoying developer. And so, and then the other part is I'm not aware of any tablets or any operating systems that target tablets where you could have a really big tablet. I guess you would call it a monitor that runs on iOS or Android, where you can kind of like Windows dock it to individual windows or areas on the screen. I don't think you have that functionality with tablet devices with their corresponding operating systems. So yeah, that's an alternative, but I don't think that's provided.
Well, I mean, it's maybe not if you're using off the shelf stuff, but if have you considered like an aggregation service where you build a platform to service the restaurant side of things, and then you try to actually get Uber Eats and all of these other ones to integrate with it?
Hold up. I think we're talking about the same thing now. Are you talking about use a use Windows and then launch a whole bunch of emulators?
Well, either that or just have Windows or Linux or whatever and launch a single app and get Uber Eats and all these other ones to integrate with that app. So that,
How,
um,
how do you do that?
you talk to them
Talk to Uber Eats and talk to Postmates.
and
That's
get them all to say, "Hey, I want to build a restaurant focused. We want to build a restaurant focused interface so that this problem goes away, so that companies, restaurants can get onto your platform very quickly. You know, uh, using a technology that they already have if they just buy this one interface, and you know." All they need to do is just open it up so that you can integrate with them, provided the API so that you can get on the restaurant side of things. Or they could build against it, and then someone basically launches the app in Windows. They say which services are provided in their restaurant out of any of them that have integrated with you, and then you just operate with that. I mean, I'm assuming that the restaurant side of things mostly function all the same way,
yeah.
but
You have
everyone's
to,
operating differently.
but you have to incentivize them. They're not going to say, "Yeah, Scott Nimrod, you nobody that we never heard of. We heard of Elon Musk. We never heard of you. We heard of Zuckerberg. We never heard of you. Sure, we'll go out of our way to support you making money and us not getting anything out of this."
Well, it's not. It's not. Well, the thing is it getting out of this? So a barrier to entry for a restaurant to pick up a new service is probably the fact that now they need another device in there that they have to then hook up. And if this is a problem, it's because like they either have too many restaurants, will have too many options, and now they have to like be selective, which may benefit some but might hurt others. Or they decide, we're only doing Uber Eats because we don't want to have to deal with all of these other ones. So it's the idea that, yeah, your competitors can get on this too, but you can too, and you don't have to do the work of building out the front end stuff or selling to those users. You just it's in this system. Um, it's if you want the business from a restaurant and they have this system and they're willing to use it, then they can easily add you to their thing. I'm thinking about this company that I worked on the early stages of them as a contractor when I took a short little jaunt as a contractor before, and they did bank switching software. So like if you're switching from one bank to another, your account gets swapped over, all the ACH payments and all of the direct deposits and stuff like that. It would go through and the system would basically make it so that those things could automatically switch over to your new account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now there's incentive to the bank that it makes it easier for people to get on their bank. So if they can sell you on their goods and that their service is the best and that somebody wants to switch to it, it removes that barrier to entry for them to switch to it. The thing is that if you get all the banks on it and they all have it, it's not like it's your secret sauce or anything like that. It's just as easy for another bank to do it as you. But then you're just competing on pure quality of service, not necessarily the and what's in your market, not necessarily like the um, this is a differentiator or something like that. So, um, long story short, if you can position it in such a way that this makes it easier for restaurants to start your service in addition to other services, because they don't have to be selective. If they want to get into this game, they buy one thing, your thing's on there, they get started. If it's assuming it's in their area or whatever. Um, I mean, it's an idea. You could, I mean, it goes off of what you're talking about. If multiple interfaces is a problem for restaurants, it seems like an aggregation service is a logical thing to do. Um, maybe, yeah,
The cheap and easy one that is the least amount of ceremony is building that general panel interface. I think that would be the easiest one. Like logically, what you said, it makes sense. It's just the politics involved. I think that's going to be an issue.
yeah. So you're basically talking about like a almost like a tablet KVM switch, right? Where you can select between multiple tablets and get the interface popped up on a single one, or
Nope,
phones or whatever. No?
nope. There's no switch. Have you been to a casino? Have you been to a horse race?
You're talking multiple, like the
Yeah,
Kino panels.
yeah. And the panels they should flash when there's a status update, right? So that you observe it because it's so annoying with the flash, um, saying, look at me, I just changed," right? So having that type of setup for them to manage, I think that would be the least expensive, and that solution isn't really digital. It's just plastic or wood. I would assume plastic or silicone or whatever.
Yeah, so it's a kind of like an organizer plus some, I don't know how you would hook up the flasher or whatever, but
No, no, no. What I meant is the
just an organizer then.
yeah, yeah, because when you receive a notification, um, the that app running on that device should somehow notify you that its state has changed, right? It
Hmm.
should start flashing some type of message or some type of background color saying that, hey, new order came in, or hey, something changed, or hey, something canceled. It should flash that. So that's everything to do with the programming of the application, which I'm sure some of these, if not all of them, probably have that, because restaurants are busy. They're not very. I don't think 100% of restaurants have someone dedicated that just looks at the monitor like this and wait for something to happen, right? They have to let someone know that happens to be walking by that something just changed, and the way they let them know is like they notice that the screen is doing something different, right, as they walk by, and so they investigate what's different about it. Hence, flashing or colors or whatever it is. Are you really? What? How did I lose you? Where are you
I'm
at?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Was
Oh,
I?
my emulator was blocking the whatever. It's a long story. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be I mean, a solution like that, if it's purely what's effectively like a wall tablet organizer. Have you thought about just going to like
China.
no, just an engineer and getting some plans drawn up for it, and just paying for some engineer's time to make a model um, of a prototype, and then
Well,
buy a you know buy a prototype of it, make it here in the U.S. Just a single one or two of them.
mm, yes, minus the money. So it wasn't necessarily for me to sell it. I was trying to convince my friend that he does audio video as a business. He installs in like businesses, bars. He even had some big accounts with arenas. Well, not it's not plural. He had one account with an arena that was something really really small, but it wasn't for me to make money off of. I was trying to convince him, hey, yo, I think there's a market here, and it would be useful for me because I need to get my app installed on some of these restaurants. Um, but he's dragging his feet on it.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
just
don't know, man. Sounds pretty good to me. Like more even so than your other one is you've identified what may be an actual real problem that people have. And businesses have a lot more money to spend on stuff than people on the beach. So
yeah.
yeah,
So you should like give up the or the game table, and you should focus on this, and then you just make all the money.
yeah. If I could, I guess if I could travel around Florida or something
No,
and
it has nothing to do with Florida. I get go to your nearest subway.
don't
What is
have
it?
it. Not in this
You
town.
don't
We
have
have
a
like
subway.
no, we have subways, but we don't. We only have like one. We maybe have one food service delivery person in town that does that kind of a thing.
How many
So
people live in your town?
we're like, well,
500.
between us and the sister city, it's like 2,500 or 25,000 rather. So and then there's surrounding areas around that, but um, and in the summertime we swell up because it's kind of a tourist area.
Okay.
So we have a lot of lakes and people come up for the summer to their cabins. Really expensive cabins, like multi-million dollar cabins. So, but and then we've got a raceway that and stuff that people come up to watch racing, I guess. But yeah, it's a smaller town, so I don't have as many of these like urban problems as what you can experience where you are. I get small town problems, which we don't have a lot of problems. We're in small towns. We don't have commutes to work.
Mm.
Although I'm kind of a little nervous about our owner talked about buying or not buying or changing our building to I'm like 7 minutes away from work or 10 minutes on a bad day. And he's thinking about looking at a building that would make it like a 20-minute, 30-minute drive. And I'm like, I don't live
Just
in a big city because I don't want to commute, you know?
you willing to offer like partial remote, like a couple of days out the week?
I don't know. I don't think I could swing that because of the location in relative to me. But
But
yeah,
according to you, there's no traffic.
yeah. That's the thing is there isn't. But in the wintertime when there's snow, it gets 7-minute drive across town. I can make a 20-minute time across town or up a highway and stuff is that's a bit different. So we'll see.
I'll just work from home during the winter. Like I'll probably make it a regular thing to like a couple of days out the week. Like, I don't know. It's easy to say what I would do, but
Yeah, I don't particularly like working from home. So most
yeah.
companies have like software that you have to have on your machine. I just don't like having that stuff on my personal
What
machine. But
monitor? You talking about the VPN, or you talking about like monitoring software?
VPNs and antiviruses and stuff like that, there's requirements around those kinds of things, and I'm just like, no, I'm not. I haven't had an antivirus installed in years because I hate them because they chew up resources and really don't do much for me if I'm just careful about what I browse, how I browse.
They
Um,
won't issue a. Can't they issue a work machine? Hold on, are you talking about your personal machine?
yeah, yeah. If I get a laptop, that would be different because then I can just
Okay.
bring it home and plug it in, but um, switch over to it. But yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Uh, we'll see. Hoping that the well, this contract will probably last for a while still, but if it were to go, I'm not sure what I would do after that. Maybe get something remote. Maybe I'll be selling game tables by then. I don't have to deal with this. So,
And I don't even know what you call it. You gave it a really good name. You said something something panel or something like that, or panel inter, whatever the thing I was talking about. Forget it. Never mind.
yeah. just like an organizational panel. Yeah, for many different devices. I mean, it doesn't seem like it'd be that hard to. I mean, because all you're talking about is like basically a decent looking box with cords coming out the back where you've got holsters for many screens, right?
Yeah, but you may have to take into consideration the thickness of the device because it needs to go flush, which it needs to be flush against the display, which I'm not sure is
Well,
simple or
there's variances on it, but I suppose you could go off of something like a Fire tablet or something like that. Any phone's gonna obviously fit.
or maybe just a screw with a knob that when you turn the knob on the back of the panel, it pushes until it's flush because that's what screws do. It
Oh
lines
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. You could just have actually you could just do that. Have that would be fairly easy to prototype actually with no plastic involved. You just buy a sheet of wood and then have screws in here. So here's like the slot for a panel. You screw some holes for the cords to go in. Um, and then you have two screws, like you said, here with just the knobs on the front that screw in and hold that tablet to the board. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be insanely easy to develop. You'd have to do maybe, and really, then if you do that, you could have different screw sizes for the most common devices. So you just like like a VESA mount or something in the back of a TV. You just have screw holes all over the place, on a segment. And then if your phone is right here, you just pick the screw holes that line up and use those. But if your tablet's this big, and you use these screw holes, and you just provide the screws with like a padded holder that will hold it against the wall. Um, you drill out the hole in the back. Dude, you could do this.
No, you can't do this. You can do this.
Yeah.
I'll share
Yeah,
my I'll share my emulator.
sure. Yeah, I
Um,
better get to your progress here before my time's up. So
we're entering space time. Uh, this week I had company for 2 weeks, so I struggled to do anything major. But I just worked on my toolbar icons and spreading them throughout different pages. So like this is like your drinks or whatever, but if you click on this, it toggles to snacks. All right, and I updated the filters on here. And this is I added the toolbar icons here, so you could go from restaurants back to your drinks, or you could go from your restaurants back to your snacks. And added it to the actual menu part. Same thing. Um, what I plan on getting done this week? Oh yeah, yesterday I spun my wheels, but I finally got it to work. Where I updated the the maps where where when you get to this part, it's only supposed to show like couriers in your area. It's not supposed to automatically draw the route from the courier to your location because the courier has to get notified that an order has been requested, and then they have to accept that order. And then once they accept that order, then a route on the this app will be displayed upon acceptance by the courier. So I I did that yesterday, where it says it found somebody, and then it drew in the route. So that's pretty much it. In summary, I just worked on the toolbars for all the different pages so you can navigate back and forth between the different food options. And um, I updated when routes actually get drawn based on an event of a courier accepting a request. Next Friday, I hope to complete. Let me stop sharing. next Friday, I hope to complete. Um, and this will be really interesting. I'm actually looking forward to this. Is when someone is ordering from a restaurant, they order a meal. Well, your meal has sides that you can pick from, such as rice, macaroni, mashed potatoes, blah blah blah. And so I need to update my domain model to accommodate that in the workflow. So right now, like you go choose Denny's, there's no way for you to choose scrambled eggs or I don't know, sunny side up, whatever that thing is called, or French fries or anything. So I need to build in that functionality where, depending on the menu item, the menu item has options of size that you can choose from, and then you can choose up to 2 sides or 3 sides, blah blah blah. So I want to have that coded and somewhat functioning by next Friday. That would be the most challenging part of this app since trying to integrate Google Maps. Google Maps took everything out of me, but so I want to have that done by next Friday. Is having sides of an order implemented. So
Gotcha. So you think of something like when you select like the Grand Slam and say, okay, I want this thing. Do you get some sort of like a pop-up type deal? Like, oh, you need to pick your sides.
I'm not sure if it'll be a pop up more than it'll be a different interface. So you select a Grand Slam, and within that list item, you can select or check for bacon sausage, but you don't check whatever other item that may be left over, like a donut. I don't know. So I'm thinking about including it within the list item, um, where I have some type of content presenter, something that's responsible for rendering that item within the list of items, and maybe they select that item, and then maybe that item gets expanded with the options that they could choose from.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting if I could pull that off, because it doesn't make sense for me to show those sides if they didn't even select it. So short answer is that's what I'm leaning. I'm not sure if I could pull that off with Xamarin Forms, but
Yeah, I
it's,
could see that.
uh,
Yeah. Um, I guess the hard part will be if you've got multiples of the same, because then you're going to get a really long form. But if you have a pretty easy way to switch between those or something like that, or you could also, I suppose, leave it to cart view. But yeah,
I think it should be done once they select a item. You're saying that another option would be after they select their items, then it's another stage of choosing the size per item. I think that's too much like context switching. I
yeah,
think
yeah. You're right.
so. That's
Cool.
it. What about you? I guess you're deciding about what to pivot on.
Well, I am building this table out. So
Okay.
for my brother-in-law's store, and I think I'm doing it on the premise that hey, we're gonna make something that's decent enough where he's gonna put like a price tag on it in his store and be like, we can build you one of these if you want one for your house, and then we'll see if anything comes from that. I'm not gonna bank on it. Like sit down and once we get it all done, it'll be like, all right, orders are gonna come rushing in. But I'm thinking like organically, if people come in the store and say, "Whoa, this is cool," and man, I wish I'd have something. Oh, this is for sale. How do I get one? Type deal. But we'll see. Um, we'll see with that. Otherwise, I mean, I'm throwing stuff at the wall. I guess. I think part of this whole deal is that uh, I don't actually need to be an entrepreneur anymore. I want to be, and so it's really hard to settle down on something and say, "Hey, this is the thing I've got to do," because I don't have to do it. So that kind of sucks. It would be, if you could burn the ships, and and go all in on it, I'm sure that motivations would be a little different. There's no option not to fail, not to succeed, I guess. But
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't have to do it? I think you have to have additional channels of income and not just your core job. That's 9 to 5. I do believe that. I believe you're renting a paycheck when you just work a 9 to 5. Um, and what the Great Recession taught us was that some of the jobs that we think are most secure, things happen, and so you
yeah, you know what the other thing I think about the Great Recession did though too is that once we got through it, there was a lot of new opportunity that came out. Like people, because they were forced into different positions and had to survive basically, that's when innovation happens, and it's a little bit easier when you don't have a job to make your own job. but but yeah, I mean, I do think the additional source of income thing is important. But yeah, I just deciding on something when it's not something like
do or die.
yeah, do or die. It's kind of the same thing with it's a little bit like going and buying life insurance, like or getting a will. It's like you should do these things, but on the list of all your priorities, it's really hard for that thing to bubble to the top. You know, Especially since there's such a rigmarole to get like, well, a will is one thing, but to get life insurance, it's a bit of a pain. So
I would argue, what's the point of life insurance, especially if you already have the discipline of setting aside money each paycheck without touching it. So like, if you're not me and you work all the time, you've been working for more than like 15, 20 years, and you set aside money. I used to set aside a third of my paycheck every time I got paid, right? And I would just automatically invest it. I would think that you should have like 100 or a couple $100,000. Like one of my late mentor, he didn't believe in life insurance because I mean he was a programmer at IBM, and then he was a professor at Case Western Reserve teaching computer science. And he was like, "What's why?" He didn't believe in purchasing life insurance if you already put money aside. Um, I'm sure there's more details, but I mean he's pretty brilliant. He had a PhD in something. Well, computer
yeah,
science.
yeah. Well, the shorter answer is when you have family and stuff like that, a lot of your money goes towards them, and so it's we've got money set aside. We have at least the you know what they suggest in terms of, hey, you should have this in case you lose your job for a year. Well, you can get by with savings or whatever. So we've got that, and we put other money away for things. But it's yeah, life insurance would be good for the hey, what if I were to die suddenly, make it so that my you know kids everything's paid for college. It's more about the potential earning I have over the next so many years, not where I'm at currently type thing.
I got it.
So
Plus, they didn't have kids. It was just him and his wife. So that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. Well, if you're what do they call them, a dink, dual income, no kids, yeah, you can really get, like, I was a dink for a while, but it was like you just hoard cash then. But
No, not if you're living with a woman.
well, my wife works. And, yeah, my wife works. She still works. So I mean,
Yeah.
even with two kids, it's
Well, the argument is about them spending.
oh no, no. I, I don't know. I know a lot of dudes that are not frugal at all too. I spend on stupid side projects and things all the time, but my wife's really frugal. So maybe to her detriment, kind of like we really have to think about saving that extra 2 cents in gas. Like, uh, do we really need to do we need to?
Yeah.
So, anyways, all right. Well, I gotta run here, so I'll take a picture. I'll show you. I'll send you a picture of my. I'll probably post it on Twitter, but my current one, and I'll send you. I'll take a picture of what I get done with the other one afterwards. So or maybe I could share it next week. So,
All right, that's what's up. Yeah.
yep.
Good stuff. Appreciate it. Yeah,
Yep.
we'll catch up next Friday.
Yep. Talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye.
See you.